Hey Photo World, welcome back to another episode here on TakeandTalkPics.com. This is another episode from the former podcast. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join the email list. Let's get to that 1,000 subscriber marker so that way I can add a new video every single week. Enjoy. Take and Talk Pics, episode 25, featuring Jared Polin, or as some of you might know him, Fro Knows Photo.
I make fun and informative content that keeps people coming back for more and that's related to photography.
Today's featured guest is Jared Polin. Jared is a Philadelphia-based photographer, YouTube guru, blogger, podcaster, and marketing whiz. In 2010, Jared founded FroKnowsPhoto.com. He has had millions of views on his YouTube channel, and aside from his fro, he has branded the ever-popular I Shoot Raw catchphrase and merchandise. With his YouTube channel, Raw Talk Podcast, and the FroKnowsPhoto.com, Jared brings information and leadership from unboxing videos to photo news and all the stops in between. Jared, welcome to Take and Talk Pics.
Thanks for having me.
For Take and Talk Pics, I just want to kind of get to know you a little bit better and share your story with Photo World, and I've only scratched the surface of that. So if you could introduce yourself further, tell us a little bit more about your photography and your business.
Yeah, my name is Jared Polin from FroKnowsPhoto.com. Like you said, in 2010, I started a website called Fro Knows Photo with the idea that it would help me get more jobs. You know, I was sitting at home wondering why are people not hiring me? Why aren't they coming? You know, they're not coming to my website. I'm not getting hired as much as I want to be hired. And I thought that people would see the work that I would be putting out on a YouTube channel, and then that would turn into paying jobs. That people would call me and be like, "Yeah, we want to hire you." And that didn't happen. And what actually happened is people were starting to ask me questions. They were amateurs and beginners saying, "Well, I love what you're doing and the information you're putting out there. I want to learn. Like, how'd you do this? How'd you do that?" And so I pivoted. In business, you hear a lot of people talk about pivoting and being able to go a direction that you may not have thought you were going to go, but that is where the customer ends up taking you. And in this case, it was the readers that were paying attention early, were the ones saying, "Well, I have questions. I want to learn how to shoot better pictures, and you seem to be good and a professional, so I should ask you." And so that's why I went that direction, and that's how we ended up here almost 5 years later.
Yeah, having an audience there and then listening to them, which most people seem to ignore, and that's where they go wrong. But that pivotal moment, that turning point, like you said.
Well, it's a tough one because sometimes you want to listen and other times you don't want to listen. And that makes it, the bigger you get, the more difficult it is to pay attention to comments because you start to get the hater comments that end up taking you, it takes away your desire to want to, not to help. I mean, I want to always help, but I wish I could just read the positives. Of course, there's going to be negatives. And what they do is they basically turn you off from answering the positive questions because you get upset.
Right.
But anyway, what else?
With Taking Talk Pics and sharing our story, I try to get the inspiration flowing, and I find that a lot of photographers, a lot of entrepreneurial mindset people and business owners kind of try to live their work and their lives with a mantra or a quote. Do you have something that you go by on a day-to-day basis?
No, I don't do mantras really. What I always talk about is do quality work. Quality work above everything else trumps all is just something I say on my podcast. It just happened. But if you put out quality work, people wonder, why aren't people showing up to my site or why I'm doing all this marketing. Well, maybe you need to not market and maybe you need to just be human and just put out quality work and the people will pay attention when the quality work comes. You can't always sell. You got to give, and then you can ask, to quote Gary Vee.
Photo World, that's right. Give it out. Give the value first. Don't just try to pursue the success.
I personally was the opposite. For a long time as a photographer, I was like, I'm not going to help others. I don't want to help others because I'm afraid that if I help them, they're going to take the jobs from me.
Right.
And then I got to the point where I'm like, well, this isn't working out too well. I might as well do a 180. And that's how the site ended up coming about because I was like, I'm just going to give it all away.
Yeah, it's hard getting into the business because it feels like competition from the get-go. But yeah, it's not always competition. Backing it up from when you first got interested in photography and pursuing that as a career, can you share what sparked that interest?
Photography?
Yeah.
I was 13, so I can go back, I guess, a little further. I haven't really brought that up before, but in junior high school, they were offering, well, they did offer something that I didn't take, which was something like a graphic design class that had darkroom in it, and I didn't realize it because I didn't read I don't read a lot, and my reading comprehension sucks, but I didn't realize that they actually offered something as an elective, but I didn't take it. So I went, I would watch the sports and I'd be like, I want those white lenses. Those are great. I want one of those, and I want to do what they're doing. And then I went to the graphic design guy because I was going to shoot some photos after school. And I'm like, well, do I get one of those white lenses? And he's like, no, here's a point and shoot that's $5. Go use it. And I didn't realize that those things were thousands upon thousands of dollars at the time. But I had an interest in capturing what was going on, and it was sports related, and all I did was shoot sports when I first started. And I sat down with my mom's point and shoot at a basketball game. The reason I went to the basketball game the second time was I saw these girls that were taking photos for the yearbook, and they were doing it during practice. And from what they were looking like they were shooting, I thought they were not doing the right thing. So I decided that I would get a camera and try it myself. And when I came back with 36 shots using a point and shoot, the timing was there. I was able to figure out how the difference between pressing the shutter and actually getting the shot with a point and shoot, what that would be. And it ended up working, and that's where it started. I just was able to capture the moment because the images were there. And I tell people this all the time when starting out. It was full auto. It didn't really matter and didn't have manual controls, but if somebody has the ability to capture the moment, to do that, I don't care if it's the worst exposure in the world, because I can teach anybody how to get proper exposure. It's much harder to try to get people to get composition or just being able to get the timing right to capture the moment.
Right. I teach at a community college out here in the Chicago area, and a lot of instructors and people who are giving information to these people learning, they always kind of come across the same thing. Like, you can teach the technical side of things pretty easily. Like, you can get that information out there and get it across in different ways. But the composition, the way to see, that's up to you.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that is, and it's, some people don't have it. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. I see it all the time when I'm shooting a concert, and then I look at whoever was shooting next to me, and I sit there and I wonder, what the hell were they doing? Or I do that when I'm in the pit and I see people shooting and the lights aren't on yet and they're just snapping away, and I'm like, guys, the lights aren't on yet. You have to know that sometimes you just don't shoot just because you're here. If there's no lights, you don't shoot. That's the nature of it. You can't do anything about it.
Jared, in photography, in business, we have ups and downs. Can you share a time when you had to learn the hard way, a failure moment that you're better for now?
So before this business, I had something that I worked with another guy. It was called You Guys Media or You Guys Publishing or whatever the hell we called it. And it was really supposed to be a social media type thing, like not coaching, but help bands and brands do social media before this was even a thing. And it didn't work out too well. The problem was, we were working with a band and they had 5 members, and I was coming up with these concepts to tell them that, look, I think this will work if you do X, Y, and Z. All you each need to do is make one piece of content a week. You've got the guy that focuses, it doesn't have to be about music. This guy loves food. This guy loves movies. This guy loves doing handiwork. This person loves doing this, and this person loves doing this. And I was like, you guys should go and do this. But that's not really a failure, but that business ended up failing. I put on like a music festival, and I footed the bill. It pulled off without a hitch. The only problem was not many people showed up, and so we didn't make our money back. And I spent a while basically working jobs, which is nothing wrong with working jobs. I worked at a Ritz camera basically for 8 months, paying everything off or everything along those lines. But the moral of the story there that I learned is, don't foot the bill yourself. Find sponsorships to pay for it. It was like $15,000. It ended up being like $20,000 I had to pay back, which is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And it would have been much easier to find 20 people to give you $1,000 or 10 people to give you $2,000 or cut it up any which way. Find a premium sponsor to talk them into $5,000, and it would have lessened the hurt. And that's just something that I learned, is you just got to ask for it. I didn't ask for it. We thought that free would work there, but you'd make your money back selling merch and other stuff, but it just wasn't the case. So that's a learning experience.
So in your photography, your practice, more so on the side of like actually shooting, is there something in particular that stands out as important, a highlight, a specific thing that's in every job? It's always there.
What do you mean?
Like a part of your workflow that you definitely make sure is a part of every job.
Oh, I get into a mindset, a zone, a shooting zone. I make sure I'm focused. It's not joking around. I mean, I joke around, but I'm focused on what I need to capture, whether it's a paying job or it's a job that I'm doing for nothing, I'm going to shoot it the same exact way, whether I'm making $1 million or making $0, because I want to go out and capture the best images every single time I go out. And it is a question. Like I know that I'm going to come back with something great, but then you get out there and it's like, you have to go through that challenge and do it. You actually have to do it time and time again. And, I tend to come back with that moment. I don't always know that I'm capturing that moment when I'm doing it. But when you get it back into the computer and you sit there and you're developing your raw files and you sit there and you're like, oh yeah, I did it again. That's a great feeling. So for me, it's just getting focused, pre-visualizing what I'm going to shoot. Even if somebody called me right now and said, we need you to shoot X, I'm going to go out and shoot X right now and figure it out when I get there. I'm going to jump into the situation. I'm going to shoot. For me, it's about any job. It's like I understand settings. I understand lighting. I could walk into any situation and guess the lighting. And I tell people that in 3 shots or less, generally 2, I will have the proper exposure. Just in a matter of seconds, I'll figure out the exposure without using the meter, just guessing a starting point. And I love playing that game, and I tell people all the time to guess the game, and I guarantee people that within 3 shots or less, I can get them from auto into manual to figure out their own settings without worrying about what the camera does.
Right, just become your own light meter. That really makes things easier.
The light meter, I don't ignore it.
Right.
I keep an eye on what it's telling me, but I also understand that it's not always right. I also know that it's going to be thrown off by the window light. If I'm shooting somebody in front of a window and I'm using just the light from inside, say, the pizza place when I did that pizza shoot, I'm not going to be on aperture priority in 3D matrix metering, because it's going to most likely meter for the window that's really 4 stops brighter outside than it is inside. So I need to compensate for the inside, and then I know to do that. It's just become second nature after shooting so long. It's really cool when it happens, and I think people will get there. The more they shoot, the more they practice. You'll get to the point where you know what the settings are. It's just everywhere I walk, I see images. It's like every day images are in my head when I'm walking down the street. I don't need the camera to capture it. I can see it, and I always talk to myself, what lens would I shoot with right now? And it's subconscious at this point, but I try to figure out what the settings would be, and then sometimes with cameras, I walk into situations and I get started, take a shot, and then I got it, and then tweak it, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun blinders situation where you start seeing in that frame constantly. I don't know about you, but I'll be talking to people and I'll move to make their background a little better. So
yeah. I don't think I do that, but
I feel so stuck in that mode. I can't get away from it. It's annoying at times, I'll admit. Jared, we have a wide range of photographers listening. Could you share something you believe would lead to growth and success in a photography business, regardless of their current level?
I
know it's
a
loaded.
Tough one. No, I mean it's a tough one because a lot of people want to be photographers today, and not everybody has the drive or the skill set to do it. The biggest thing that leads to growth is being good at what you do. 1, being good at what you do when it comes to capturing images. 2, being able to talk to people and network and get in front of the right people to put yourself into a situation to be successful, because I forever did not put myself into positions to be successful. I didn't think I needed to do certain things that I should have been doing, like getting out and being around people, because being around people or doing jobs that maybe didn't pay enough or didn't pay at all, because instead of doing that and meeting 100 people that are potential clients, I sat around being like, no, I'm worth more than that $100 they were offering me, instead of just helping them out because, doing the good deeds is going to turn back around and help you in the future. I just think getting out there and shooting more, doing jobs that maybe somebody can't afford something, doing it for them and not bitching about it and like, oh, they can't afford me, but, maybe doing trade. But just you're not always going to take those free jobs. You have to look out for yourself and say, what can I benefit from by doing this for free? Like, is it a charitable event for Paws or something along those lines, or some charity that you're involved in, and say like, okay, there's going to be donors there that like to give money. They give money. Well, they're going to see me time and time again because I'll donate my time. I'll do this once a month for these guys if they need it. And I would ask don't be afraid to ask them to promote you at the events because you're doing it for free. And then it can turn into paying jobs. I just think it's getting yourself out there and not just sitting at home wondering what the hell's going on. My dad always told me there were 3 types of people. The people who make things happen, let things happen, and then the people who wonder what the hell happened, and you got to, and he wrote me a letter one day, and it was those posing those questions, and it finished with, well, which one are you? Because I guess he was not happy with me sitting around trying to figure out what I wanted to do and really taking no action.
It's good that you took it the right way, or at least, developed into the right way of like making the right decision to go, okay, I guess it's up to me. I can't wait for the phone to ring as if, just because I have a camera, people know about me, because that's not always the case.
Yeah, no, and I've learned, you got to be selfish. You do have to be selfish.
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid to say that they're selfish, but you do have to look out for yourself. I mean, I give away so much stuff. I give away a ton, but I also look out for myself when it comes to doing what I'm doing. I love what I do. I love shooting. But when it comes to a certain job or a certain thing you're doing, you have to make sure it's beneficial to you to do it. Because if it's not, you're just going to go spinning around in circles.
Any relationship, networking, and being a part of the community, I think boils down to mutual beneficial points. It's not what can I get from this person all the time. It's what can I give them, but is there anything in it for me realistically? And it's not to be, fully yourself or anything, but there is a little bit of selfishness that goes into it. It has to. If it didn't, then we'd all be broke and giving everything away, During your photography career, I know there's a lot of like light bulb moments, these aha moments that kind of take off and make changes for us along the way. And I don't think it's ever really just one that is the pinnacle moment over everything. I think there's many. Can you bring us to a story in a time where one of those light bulbs went off and that aha moment, just showed up to you, and that's when things really started to change with your photography business?
The photography business or the website business? Which one?
It's both of them are you, so either way you want to go with, I'm fine.
I think, actually, I mean, they go hand in hand. So the change and the aha moment came when I got introduced to like the internet marketing world, which is a really bad world if you go down the wrong rabbit hole or don't meet the right people, because there's a lot of, bullshit and a lot of scamming stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a job. They paid me like $1,000 for the weekend. I went to Florida shooting a fitness conference. From that conference, I got introduced to people that had like 90,000 people on an email list, and they built themselves a brand and a following. And I was this guy who didn't have any of this, but I was like, holy crap, that there's a whole nother world out there on the internet that you can be successful by creating something. And from that one event, somebody told me that I should be going to this other event. So I called the guy who runs that event and said, I want to shoot your conference for free. The photos that you have currently are no good. You need to have better photos. You don't have to pay me. Just put me up. Just pay for my way, and I will come and shoot it. And so I went and I shot it and ended up learning stuff. My head got all blown up by the ideas that I could create something and just sell it. But the problem is that you can't just create something and sell it if you don't have a following. Right. And that's where a lot of the internet marketing people go wrong, is the people get their heads blown up by the possibilities of wealth and all the things that they can do, that they don't realize that you can create something, but if you have nobody there to purchase it or listen to it or do anything with it, then it's not going to go anywhere. So my head got blown up for a little bit, and then I got introduced to this other guy who ran one of the best internet marketing conferences with the real deal legitimate people, and that's where I met Gary Vaynerchuk and ran into a lot of people that I've stayed in touch with. And this is all before I started my website. So this was that transition where I was putting myself into situations to be successful instead of sitting on my ass at home wondering what the hell's happening. And it also starts back, I got into a networking group, a thing called LaTip, which I'm not a big fan of. They have BMI, LaTip, all of these things that get you into these groups. They're not bad if you get something out of it. And I ended up, getting that fitness thing because one of the trainers sent me out to that thing, and that set me on this path. I really thank them for doing that, because I don't know that I would have found this path and be sitting where I am today if it wasn't for that one person sending me to where he sent me. So, that all led to something which led to I can do this. The biggest aha moment came when Gary Vaynerchuk was speaking at this underground event, which was like $3,000 for people to attend, and all I did was give my time to photograph it, and they paid for everything. Other than that, they didn't pay for me to shoot, but they paid for me to go. Just Gary V gets up on stage and he's like, no, he just got up there and he's like, there's no secret to being successful. And this was at his time when he was pushing the whole crush it thing, which is just, if you create quality product, you put it out into the world, and you hustle your freaking ass off, you have a better chance of being successful. Nothing's going to say you're going to be successful, but there are no secrets. There's not something that you can buy online that's going to give you the aha thing that says, if you buy this product, how to make the people that sell the how to make $1 million on the internet are making $1 million telling people how to make $1 million on the internet.
Exactly.
And so those were that I guess that's kind of it. Those moments where the person started that path by sending me to shoot that conference and me saying yes and instead of saying no, just actually doing it.
There's a great book out there by Stephen Pressfield that I've mentioned on the show before, but it's titled Do the Work. And it goes in with what Gary Vaynerchuk says all the time, like, guys, I don't have a secret because it doesn't exist. Do the work. Just get up and do it. You could sit down and watch TV and, veg out after whatever else you got going on for a couple hours. Or you can go and do something. Plan that next shoot that you want to do. Or, get some more pictures online that you need critiqued and get some honest feedback to improve.
With what I've done is like I've been doing I was heads down for 2 years nonstop in my bedroom or my brother's room at my dad's house and the backyard just making content. I don't know how I had the drive to keep doing it, but I don't ever want to fail, and I don't want to go back to a point where I'm living at home at 27, 28 years old, which is fine. It is what it is. But I mean, I think I moved out when I was, oh shit, I didn't start the website till I was 29. 30, 31, 32, 33. I'm 34. So I was living, I think I moved out when I was 30 or something along those lines. I don't know, whatever I was saying. I don't remember.
You were making content for a couple of years with your head down doing that and keeping that ambition up.
I bust my ass. This isn't a 9-to-5 job. If you're one of the people who wants to just do 9 to 5, then go get a desk job. There's nothing wrong with it if that's what you want to do, is you want to be comfortable. I ran into an old photographer friend that I used to work with at a camera store who then went and started to assist a Sports Illustrated photographer, and I ran into him, and he's working for a bank. He's like, I just wanted a job, and I wanted to come home and golf, and I wanted to go and do this. I didn't want to, which I think is a pussy thing to do, in my opinion, but that's, to each their own. I just think that's like you gave up on it,
Yeah, I see a lot of older photographers. I assisted for many people when I was starting out because, my goodness, you can't just jump into it right away. You got to learn a little bit. So I assisted, and a lot of them now are getting so burnt out. They're just, I can't deal with all these changes. I can't deal with the internet. It's like, it's not about that. It's you just don't want to. So.
Well, but part of it is they may be older and they don't want to. But the other part is that they didn't adapt as the changes were happening. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't adapt to video with your DSLR, there's a lot of people like, I'm a still photographer. Okay, you're a still photographer who's going to be starving because not many photographers make it just being photographers anymore.
Right.
If you don't sit there and learn how to shoot video. It's just having the ability to offer something. It's like back in the day when a photographer could do websites too. Now you have a second piece of income, and not only are you doing the websites, but you're taking the photos for the websites. You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And now in this day and age, you can go and do those portraits, but then people are like, "Oh, do you do video? Because we need X." And guess what? Video pays 3-4 times more than what stills pays. So do it.
It's no secret that Canon, Nikon, all these big brands are putting video on their cameras, not because they thought it was cute. It's because it's a feature you should be implementing. I mean, when it first started happening, doing the video on DSLRs, it was really pushed for photojournalists, so that way they'd have 2 abilities of capturing their content on the spot. So, I mean, like Photo World, you can explore it, at least explore it, and try to do something and start pitching it to people.
It's the marketing the business side of it, doing what you need to do to be successful. If you want to be successful at something, you got to bust your freaking ass. You got to find every loophole there is, and you got to exploit it. But it still comes back to doing quality work.
Right. Yeah. And there's a few good nuggets that keep coming up: the networking, the getting out in practice, and just keeping to the honest quality. Just really don't say you're something you're not, and be realistic about it. Go out there and do quality work. Jared, can you share with Photo World a time where you had an I made it moment? I mean, there's probably been many, and I think as photographers, as business owners, if we officially say, this is it, this is the I made it moment, that would be kind of the plateau where we start to settle and things would collapse. So not in that regard, but in a way of, somebody knew you on the street for the first time, and that was just a really cool feeling, something of that nature.
Yeah, because there is no I made it moment as a photographer. There really isn't, because
right.
You get to something and then you want the next thing. It's just you're never satisfied. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the website type thing, I think the first time I got like a check for 18 cents or something from Google for AdSense or for an ad, or just logged in, it was 31 cents. I was like, Dad, I made money on the internet. I had like 12, 120 views or something and 2 subscribers, and you guys saw 18 cents in the account. And it's like, wow,
Yeah, it was just
that's like tangible money.
things are happening. That's kind of cool.
That wasn't that I made it. That was more that, holy shit, this, that's interesting. But I mean, in in this business, the making it was when I finally released my beginner guide, the Frontals Photo Guide to Getting Out of Auto, and I sold a lot. I had a free website it's still free. A lot of people were like, you need to sell something right away. I'm like, I don't have a following yet. I'm going to build until it's time to sell something. And when I finally got to doing my video guide and it was the right time and I got it out there into the world, it was as successful as I thought it would be. You try to generate revenue because in order to sustain what you're doing in a business, you have to make money, and you can't be bashful about it.
Right.
You can't sit there and beat around the bush. I didn't intend on Fronos Photo being a business. It turned into a business and I went with it. And I love shooting. I love business. I love branding. I love marketing. Put all those things together and I have a business here. And you're always looking for certain ways to monetize. And I think offering the products that I offer is a way that people can thank me for all the free stuff. I have a $67 guide. I have a $97 video guide. I've got t-shirts. You can watch my videos for free and watch the ads, and that helps, and listen to the podcast, which the more people that listen, the more I can charge for, say, an advertising plug, which I'm very transparent about those plugs. They are there because that's what pays for those hour and a half or 2 hours of quality content to get bigger and better. I am toying with the idea of a membership side of the site. I don't know what that would look like. I mean, I have an idea, but it's not going to change the amount of free content I put out. Right. I will continue to put out what I put out. And if people want to go that extra step because they want me more, because there's a lot of people, they want email. Like I used to do the Skype line where people could call, but right. I don't do that anymore because I have so many other things that I'm working on. I get so many emails. I can't respond to every single one now. You get so many Facebook messages. I respond to a lot of Twitter messages because they're easier to respond to. But having possibility of doing a membership side, which you're not obligated, it's an added value thing. You're getting more than what I would be capable of giving away for free while still doing the free stuff. So if people want that, then I'm perfectly fine possibly offering that, because that then helps sustain the free stuff. But people are also getting value from it. Like, I don't want to do anything unless somebody's getting value. If there's no value, then I shouldn't do it, and then it's like you're stealing. So if I can offer enough value on the inside, meaning maybe do a special critique once a month for all the members where they submit their work, and then I do a private thing where all the people on the inside get to see that stuff, or I release certain content slightly earlier. That's a big thing today, is the 3-day early thing, the 72-hour thing where you release it 72 hours before everybody else sees it. Well, if you can wait, it's going to be free. But if you'd like to see it when it comes out, to be at the forefront of it, plus the extra added benefits, then it's up to you if you want to take advantage of that. And that helps.
Right, absolutely. And like you said, it's not an obligation. It's just the next step in your business. And that's totally cool that your business is doing that, which in the end, it's supporting, maintaining everything else that your business has had to offer and continues to offer.
There will be people that yell at you for doing it, but it is what it is.
I mean, if they ever gotten that position, they would start to see the truth, and they're only yelling because they're upset with what they're not a part of now, or they don't want to pay it.
Tell me, I've done surveys of my readers and gotten thousands of replies that people would be interested in a membership site for X amount of dollars. We don't know what it would be, but it wouldn't be. It may be more than a Netflix, because we're not getting 30 million people signing up. 30 million at $8 is a hell of a lot of money.
Right.
But, for what I'm doing, it could be the $10, $15 range, but there's a lot of added value that you would be getting from it. And if people think it's beneficial, they'll tell me by signing up. It's tough. I work with people that help advise or help give ideas that I don't always take, but it's trying to figure out what works. They're like, well, you could do this. I'm like, well, I already do that on the outside. Yeah. I'm not going to take something that I already do and put it behind a paywall and alienate people. So Raw Talks aren't going to change. Having guests on Raw Talk aren't going to change. I'm not going to change that, or doing rapid fire critiques or Squarespace rapid fire critiques. But what I may do is only get the critique material from inside the paywall, because I get thousands upon thousands of people requesting to get rapid fire critiques of their best 10 photos that they
Yeah.
post on Flickr. What could you do? One a week, maybe 52 a year, and even at that, you're maybe doing 40 or 30 or 25 a year.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of other pieces of content to make. But if I'm able to pull that as an added value randomly from people who are on the back end, that's an added value, another possibility for people to want to be a part of it.
Jared, during your photography career so far, can you recall the best advice that you had ever received?
No,
Still waiting for it?
not really. No, I mean, it's just I think some of the advice that I was given and I didn't take was, you should assist for other people or you have to work with other people. And I was like, well, I've already done this and this. Why do I need to work for other people? It's just, interact with people, network, put yourself in a situation to be successful. That's what I'll pass along is just put yourself into a position to be successful. Make people say yes somehow. And then that's just what you need.
Yeah, and I think that stands out as good advice. The networking, put yourself in that position. In the end, we do have to become salespeople in some way, whether you're selling just yourself or your business. Whatever the transaction is, doesn't really matter. There's sales involved, and it's difficult. Getting in front of people, that network, and putting out good work. Rather than receiving the good advice, I think you've been finding it through your path that these are the things that are the good advice. So I appreciate you sharing it with Photo World today.
No problem.
If you had to start your photography all over, you have the same gear and the same knowledge that you currently have today, but tomorrow you wake up and you have no websites, no portfolio, what would you do first to start your photography business?
Cry.
Maybe the first day.
I hope I don't want to do that. I don't want to start over again. I've been doing it since I was 13, so.
But for the listeners out there, what kind of advice would you give them as like, if they haven't been doing it yet, this is what they should be doing right now. Make sure that's in the bag before they go to the next step.
Well, it's beating down the doors. It's putting yourself again into the situations to be successful, having quality work, knowing your camera, knowing what you can capture, understanding light. I didn't understand light. I was in the running man mode for probably the first 4 or 5 years of my shooting career because I didn't know any better. I didn't even get into aperture priority until I was in college. And then I didn't get out of aperture priority to realize that manual is much better until many years after college. So it's like a long learning experience. You're not going to do this in a year. I think that I'm probably not answering the question right now, but I'll get back to it. I just think a lot of people feel that this is digital so instant. When I started, we shot film, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that for people that don't shoot film. It's because it's not really prevalent right now. But we had to learn the hard way that you take 36 pictures, you don't know what your settings were, you have to wait to get them back, and then you have to figure out what the hell you did wrong. And you have just a great ability to learn today because you have the digital, but you just have to get good and master what you're doing. Go out and shoot, go out and practice, just shoot everything that you can and put yourself into those situations to be successful. What was the question again? If I had to start today, I would just focus on just shooting as much as possible. When I started shooting concerts, I sucked. Or when I started shooting hockey, I sucked. I was taking 8 to 10 rolls a game at the Flyers when I had a season credential and getting maybe 20 keepers out of 8 to 10 rolls. That sucks. But 2 years later, a year and a half later, after shooting many more games, I was now shooting 2.5 rolls a game of 36 and coming out with about 30 keepers per roll because I was getting better at what I was doing. It's just practice makes perfect. You're not going to become a superstar photographer in 2 years. It's not going to be 5 years. I mean, maybe in 5 years because you can move quicker, but the stuff takes time till it becomes second nature.
Other than FronosPhoto.com, the Raw Talks podcast, do you have an app or internet resource that you think Photo World could benefit from knowing about?
I educate myself any way possible reading a lot of tech news. I follow a lot of YouTube or video-related news sites. Like this one's called Video Inc., and there's another one that's called Tube Filter. These are all trade websites that talk about what's going on in video online, whether it's Facebook video or YouTube video. I read those type of things. When it comes to photography, I just stay up on news. I just stay up on new gear and new technologies and try to understand what it is as soon as it comes out. And when it comes to social media or social networks, trying to stay at the forefront of the changes and things that are happening and be out there doing Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and utilizing the tools that are there and then recognizing the new tools coming along that you need to figure out what they are. I mean, it's just a matter of if you're passionate about whatever you're passionate about, you better study the hell out of it so you know the ins and outs of it so that you're at the forefront and you're able to be able to figure out what the hell you're doing.
Utilizing the tools that were there and recognizing that the tools that are coming along, I think that's brilliant. And this day and age especially, other than your camera bodies, because we definitely need that as photographers, what is one piece of gear that you could just not live without? Is it a particular lens, or do you like a certain type of lighting tool, or is it a bag, or, there's all sorts of stuff.
No, just give me a camera and let me shoot.
Just whatever you got, you'll take it and do something with it.
Just put it in my hands and let me shoot. Sure, there's better lenses than other things and stuff, but I don't think there's one item that I can say I can't live without, because you find a way to make it work with whatever you put in your hands.
I love this answer and this response, and nobody else has said it like that. So I really do appreciate it, because it comes back.
That's probably because they read the questions beforehand, and I mean, certain questions like that are like those. I don't know. I'm more practical, and you hear things like, "What's the one thing you can't live without?" It's like I don't know. Air.
Yeah, like I guess it's not worth thinking about. It's about making good quality work. So regardless of what you have, regardless of what you are available to take with you, just make good work with it. Jared, we're getting to the end here, and before we go, if you could share with Photo World one parting piece of guidance, and then the best way that we can reach you, whether it's one of your websites or some sort of social media, and then we'll get ready to say goodbye.
What was the question?
One parting piece of guidance.
Let's just do quality work. Just do quality work. Get good at what you're doing. Understand the ins and outs of everything about your camera and lighting. Shoot. Practice. Become the best at what you do. Know everything about what you're trying to be successful at so that you can find a way to be successful at it. In the end, quality work above everything else trumps all. But not always. Sometimes.
And then the best way that Photo World can find and follow you and what you're doing.
Subscribe to me on YouTube. You can look for anything Fronos Photo on there, but you can go to fronosphoto.com, look for an orange box. I give a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations. When you sign up for my email list, that's a good way to stay in touch and also get some free content that I send out from time to time with my email list. Yeah, you can do that. And follow me on Facebook.
Yeah, Photo World will have these links and others, all the websites to your podcasts and everything, just so that way they can get connected and follow you in all the different ways. Those will be on your show notes page there, Jared. Photo World, just type in Jared in the search bar on takeandtalkpics.com. His show notes page will pop up. But Jared, I cannot thank you enough for your time today in sharing such great value. Photo World thanks you, and happy shooting.
You're very welcome. No problem at all.
Photo World, I hope you enjoyed that episode today. The interview went so well with a lot of great information. Be sure to tune in next time where we feature another photographer and telling their journey.